So dear students, so today we are going to discuss about the file handling functions in C. Till now we were working with programs that will be creating some variable while the execution part. The data will be available throughout the program execution time, and once the program terminates, the data is lost. So there are cases like we are inputting some data and we are processing that data, and later we want to reuse them, okay, for some other application. For example, you created some uh, images in a using the paint software, and you want to use that, and you want to edit that using Photoshop. So the process you have done in paint need to be saved not in the random access memory, that is the primary memory. It should be saved in the secondary memory so that it will be accessible and can be used later. So we are going to see how the data we are processing through a program can be accessed elsewhere, or how to store that data in the secondary memory, or how to access data that is stored in secondary memory through a program. Okay, that's what this particular part is. So let's see the basics of file handling. So these are the learning outcomes. So the first thing is understanding the need of having file handling operations in C. Get familiarized with the different file handling functions, and we are going to witness the file handling function in action using a C program. We'll be giving a demonstration through this video lecture. So the first thing what we want to know, why we need this. So that was the introduction that I gave, to have the processed data available at our disposal even after the execution of program. For example, in a program you are creating a variable A. You read 10 numbers, you added them together, you have the sum. Once the program execution is over, that sum variable doesn't exist, so we don't have that data with us. So we want that data, we need to store them in some file. And the second is to reduce the effort of inputting data by importing it directly from a pre-written file. Say if you have 100 numbers you want to input to a program, and the generation of that 100 number, either you can just type in the 100 numbers, or else you can use a function in Excel or something, and you can create those 100 numbers, and 100 numbers can be read directly using the program. So it becomes an effortless job. Okay, typing 100 numbers, and in Excel, those who have used Excel will be knowing, if you type in 1 2 3 and you just drag it, you are going to get 100 numbers. It's very simple. So that is the different type of inputting or the importing option. Then these are the main steps involved in case of a file handling. So the first thing is the file creation. For that we can use the command FOpen, and there are some attributes that we add along with that. We'll discuss that in detail, what each attribute means and all. Then opening an existing file, for that also we'll be using FOpen. To create and open we use FOpen. Then to write data into a file, so there are different commands like fprintf is there, fputs is there, fputc is there, so we'll see that also. And there we have another option to read data, so that some data is available in a file, we want to read that, or in a new file we want to enter some data. So that's basically the step 3 and step 4. Then the next one is moving to a specific location, fseek or refine, that is will be discussed in future videos, not in this one. Then how to close a file. So once you open a file, you want to close it, so that you might have experienced, if you're in a network and if you're trying to open a file or delete a file, so it may say that it's already been used by some other software, right? You might have faced that. If you're using a pen drive and if you are trying to remove it, and if an application is running from the pen drive, will say that it is open there, so it cannot be safely removed. Similarly, once a file is open, we did all the operations, we fetched data, we written some data, and after that we want to close that. For that we can use the fclose. So these are the different steps: creation, writing, reading, and closing. Now we are going to see what FOpen means. When we type in the command FOpen, what happens in the system. So if we want to access a file, first we want to create a pointer. Okay, a pointer. So the program, to access the data of a file, that file need to be opened first. Of course it has to be opened, but how to open it? For that we require a pointer. So in this particular case, what I have shown here, the star fptr is a pointer. You have seen a star in front, which means it's a pointer. So fptr is a pointer to the data type file. Okay, this file is the data type, and this is a pointer which is a pointer to the data type file. Now this is the command that we use to open this particular file. Opening a file means that it won't be literally opening. You are not going to see that file, but in the backend that file will be accessible. Okay, that's it. This FOpen means. Okay, it's not like you when you just type in file test.txt, and if you write this command, suddenly a window pop up which will be this file.txt. That's not going to happen. In the backend, this file will be accessible. That's what is meant by this FOpen. Okay, so this pointer will be the address location, so it will be available though. Then this file test.txt, so that is basically the file name. And when we are specifying the file name, we should be very careful. When we simply say file test.txt, this control will be searching in the folder where we are saving the C program, whether a file test.txt is available, or it will be creating a file in that folder itself. If you want the file to be created, say in the D drive inside a folder named miscellaneous, then what you need to do is you need to give the whole path here. Okay, so D drive, then slash the folder name, such that, and then you need to give the file name, and the extension of the file is compulsory. Okay, you should give that, whether it is a txt file, .c file, that is a C program file, or whether it is a CSV file, that is comma separated variable, that is normally generated from Excel and all. And this is the attribute which we will discuss in detail. Okay, this is the common format. So you should have the file name, comma, the attribute or the mode. Okay, so W is an attribute that decides what should be the status of the file. Okay, we'll come into that detail. Now, when I type in these two details, what happens? The above statement creates a new file. Okay, file test.txt in the same folder where the program is saved, and we have already discussed. So that is the FOpen command. So it can be used either to create a new file or to open an existing file with the same file name. Now these are the attributes or modes for FOpen. So we have seen that in the last slide we were having something here, this W inside the double quotes. So what this W means, so that's what we are going to see now. So there are different attributes you can use along with FOpen. The first one is R. Okay, so it means that the file what you have opened is ready to be read. Okay, so the access, for example, when you are using Google Classroom, when you're opening a file and you try to edit it, it says that you don't have the edit access. The only thing what you can use is you can view the file. Similarly, when you use the attribute R, it means that the file will be ready to be read. You cannot write anything in the file, but you can read what is available in the file. That is the R attribute. If you are using W as the attribute, it means that you can write new data into that particular file. That is the W attribute. Now there is A. A is basically if you want to append something. So already some data is available in that file, and the new data you want to add to the end of the existing data. In such a case, you can use the attribute A, which is appending. So you are appending some data to the existing data. So for example, in the existing file I'm having my name is. Okay, my name is already there in that existing file. Now I just want to add the name to the end of it. So I'll be using not W, I'll be using A. Because if I use W, what happens is that all the data that is available will be erased and the new data will be entered into the existing file. So old data will be discarded. So if you want to have the old data and the new data to be entered at the end, you can use the option or the attribute A. Similarly, there are some other set of attributes R plus, W plus and A plus. Okay, these are for updation. Okay, here we are talking about new files. If you want to create a new file and you need to do the operation, you will be using R, W and A. If you want to update an existing file, you can use R plus, W plus and A plus. Okay, so now we are going to talk about how to read and how to write data. So to read data in an existing file, you can use either fgets or fgetc. fgets, basically that S stands for string, and in fgetc, C stands for character. If you want to read one character at a time, you can go for fgetc. If you want to read a string, it is fgets. Okay, that is the basic thing. So a description is given here. After reading the character, the file pointer is advanced to the next character. If the pointer is at the end of file, or if an error occurs, end of file is returned by this function. Okay, end of file means that if you're having a file and there are some data in the file, the end of the file means the completion of the data. Okay, say there is a sentence, my name is so and so. Okay, so at the end of the second so, it's the end of the file. So that's what it is mentioned here. That is the end of file. And then there is fgets. It stops when either n-1 characters are read, the new line character is read, or the end of file is reached, whichever comes first. And this is the sample format or the syntax for fgets. So you will be giving fgets. This is the variable to which you need to read the data into. Okay, and this 4 specifies the length of string. So if you want to read the first 3 characters, you will be entering it as 4, because the last character, as it's going to be a string, the last null character will be attached to it. So if you want to read 3 characters, you need to give 4. Similarly, if you want to read n characters, you need to give n plus 1 as the size here. Okay, so the name, size, and this is the pointer in which we have opened the file. Now it's fputs, similar to gets and getc. Fgets and fgetc, similar is the fputs and fputc. For writing a string, we'll be using fputs. For writing a character, we'll be using fputc. Okay, so more commands are there. We'll come across them as we move along with the programming part. So now we are jumping into the programming part, and I'm going to give you a demo of how this file handling function works. So first, what we are going to do is we are going to create a file named test.txt, and we are going to write some data into it. Okay, so let's see how to do that. So the first, I'm going for the file write option. So the first step is always the same. Include the library. Okay, the library is included. I'm also including the library string.h. Okay, because I'm going to do the operations with string. Then int main. Okay, then now fine. So the first thing what I want is, I want to enter some data. That data need to be stored in some variable, and that variable need to be entered. So I'm first specifying a variable, a character array data. So whatever data I want to enter, I will be entering into this data, and this data variable will be directly fed into the file. And the next is, I want to open the file, or I want to create a file. So this is how I do that. Capital FILE, that is the syntax, so you should enter it as such. And you need to define the pointer. So let it be star fptr. So that's the pointer. Now fptr equal to FOpen. I'm using the FOpen command here. FOpen. Now I need to have the file name. So if I want it to be in the same folder, I can simply give the file name. If I want to store it in some other location, I need to give the whole location, like d colon slash folder name slash test.txt. Now I just want it in the same folder. I'm just writing like this, and my purpose is to write some data, so it is w. The attribute is w. Okay, so the file is open. It is available in fptr. Now I'm going to check if fptr equal to null. Okay, this is basically a check what we are doing when we are handling with file, to ensure that the file has opened properly. If the file has not been opened, then a null will be the value that will be available in the fptr. The pointer will be having a value null. So on seeing that case, we can tell this, a command can be displayed on the screen telling that the file not found. Okay, so if the fptr is having null value, then this is the case. If it is not null, which means that it is having some value, so which means that the file has been created properly. So here I'm asking the user to enter some data. Okay, enter the file data. The user will be entering the data as per his wish that need to be read. I'm reading that into the string that I have already defined. Okay, so I'm reading that into data. Now what is the next step? I need to write this value or the string that is available in data in this particular file. For that I'm using fputs. Okay, fputs. So I want to write data into fptr. Okay, so that's done, and that can be the termination. Put on 0. Okay, this if loop started here, it got closed, else loop started here, it got closed. Okay, so we have it. Fine, we forgot to do one more thing. We haven't closed the file that we have opened, so that is very important, because only if we close the file, the RAM allocated to keep this file in the memory won't be reused. That memory will be used up and it won't be available for other purposes. So the closing the file is very important. So using this, I'm closing fptr. So this fclose fptr, it will close the file that we have opened here. So the part is done. Now let's try running it. So I'm running it and I'm entering data. So test data, fine, enter. It is done. Now what I need to do is I need to check the folder where I have saved this particular file, and I want to know whether a file test.txt has got created there. So I'm opening the folder and you can see here is the file. I have the file here and the content of the file is test data. Okay, now say if I'm changing the input, so I'm not changing anything else, but I'm just changing the data, say data for testing, and I saved it. Now let's see what happens. So I'm taking the same folder, and in the folder I'm opening the test file. Now the whole data got replaced with data for testing. So this is how we write data into a file. Okay, so now we have the file there. Now we can think about reading, how to read the data. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking the same code. Okay, I'm pasting it here, and here I'm going to do a small difference. The small change is that, so currently that file contains some data. Now I want to read that data into this variable, not this one. So the first step remains same. I need to open the file. The file got opened and the attribute write need to be changed to read. Now I'm going to read the data that is available in the particular file. Now this check should be done. I'm checking whether the file is opened properly, so that is done. Now here I'm going to get the file data is, because I'm going to read it and I'm going to print that. So the file data is, and instead of gets, I'm going to use the fgets command. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the data that is available in the file and will be saving it to the variable data. So the variable name I gave first. Now I want to decide how much data or how much characters should be displayed. Say I want to display the first 5 characters, so I'll be entering 6. Okay, how many characters you want to display? Just enter n plus 1 here. So I want to display I want to get the value that is available in the particular file test.txt, the first 5 characters, and it should be read from fptr because that's a file that is open. So now f gets, so the data is available. Now I want to print the data that is available in my variable data. So I'm going to use puts because it's simply a string. Okay, puts data because this is a character array data, and now I'm just printing the value that is available in the string. Okay, now let's try running this. So what happens is that it reads the data available in the file. If we want to know what is the content of the file, we can keep that file open so that you can see that the data in the file is data for testing. We want to print the first 5 characters, that is DATA and the space. I entered 6 here, so the 6th is the new line character, okay, or the null character which we normally attach for a string. So if I change this 6 to say 8, now if I again run this, it is data FO, that is the first 7 characters. So 4 plus 5, that's a space, 6 and 7. So when I entered 8, it displayed the first 7 characters. It's not displayed, it copied that value into the variable data, which can be used in this particular program for processing. So this is basically uh, our program, the file handling, the programs using file handling function. So in this PPT I have included that, so it's a sample case. So for example, here we have done, the file name is different, and what I did is I asked the user to enter some data, so data got entered, then again to new line and a /t. Okay, so 2 new lines will be there in the file, then is tab, and then again I'm writing the same data. I'm repeating the data. This is a writing process, and you can see how it comes. So the user entered the data, test data for the test file. So in the file it will be like test data for the test file, new line, and then /t, and again it used the same content that has been entered, because the program we wrote it like the f puts data, new line /t and data. Okay, so that's how we write data into a file using the file handling command. Then this is the one where we are talking about reading the data. So this is what we have just did, like the data was read. So whatever data was available, we entered the value as 4. So first 3 characters from the file, and the file contains test data. So the first 3 characters is TES, that got read and displayed or stored in the variable data. So this is the basics of file handling. Now there are different options we can use with file handling. Okay, the fseek, rewind, all those commands, what are those and how they function, we will discuss in the following video lectures. Okay, thank you.